I'm Marlon Roudette. I'm a British Vincentian songwriter, producer, dad, brother, uncle, concerned citizen. I was born in London, but I grew up in the Caribbean from the age of 8 till 17, 18. And you know, Caribbean roots, identity, issues have always been very important to me. And of course, with what's going on in the region at the moment, yeah, I'm here to talk about it. Yeah, it was incredible. I went from one extreme to the other. You know, we grew up on a on an estate in West London, and you know, one day Mum decided to reconnect with her roots and moved back to the Caribbean. And we lived in Trinidad first for a year, and then in St Vincent, and I loved it. You know, stopping off at the beach on the way back from school, disappearing from Friday till Sunday night on boats. St Vincent is a unique island because the Grenadine Islands also are part of it. So you know, 9 miles to the south, you have a chain of the most beautiful islands in the world. And so I grew up with a love for nature and a love for the outdoors, but also with an acute understanding of the environmental pressures that the region is facing, largely through no fault of its own. You know, these are changes that are occurring due to, you know, global warming, and the Caribbean has only played a very small role in that. So yeah, it you know, really is an important debate that we need to have. Yeah, it's been an emotional few months. I mean, obviously we always grew up with the threat of hurricanes, tropical storms coming through. St Vincent's quite fortunate in that it's just far enough south to avoid a lot of the really bad ones. But of course, you know, we remember Grenada getting hit very badly, and of course this time around, you know, Dominica has been really seriously affected. I think 90% of the buildings damaged or destroyed. I have family in Dominica. We have a house there. Fortunately, our house survived, but the village around it is nearly completely destroyed through the winds and landslides and everything. So I think even though you grow up with an understanding of it, when you get a freak hurricane season like this, it's still a shock. I think global warming scientists, they sort of debate on whether it's half a degree or a degree change in the temperature of the sea level, you know, can make the difference between a category 3 and a category 5 hurricane. And I think we're really seeing you know, that this year is the warming sea levels having that sudden shock rise. Well, one of the big positives that I've taken from this whole situation is that as soon as the islands became very affected, there was a massive groundswell of support and action on the ground. You know, I can't tell you how many WhatsApp groups I'm on where, you know, you've got from pilots to bus drivers to you know, sound system operators who've gone into the villages, set up, played a little show and got people to donate cans of stuff. That's being coordinated, taken to the ferry, you know, the boats flying up. We've had a lot of big business people from Martinique all the way south lending us their planes, so we can try and get aid on there and get that into the affected places. So I didn't realise how quickly people could mobilise in the sort of current digital age, and I also maybe underestimated how many people wanted to give selflessly to the cause and to those people that need it. Going forward, that's an interesting question, and that's a debate that needs to be had. Everything from the architecture of buildings in the Caribbean, many of which are unsuitable to hurricanes, to the climate, you know, from that to building more hurricane shelters, to having dry goods in store for when stuff like this happens, more generators, because, you know, Dominica still won't have electricity until early next year at the earliest, you know. So yeah, this is something that we need to continue to talk about, and I think that you know, I've taken, you know, a lot from how many people want to contribute. Yo, join the Ocean Generation Collective.